Christmas dinner is canceled. The snowstorm is too dangerous. No one's going out. My mom texted me at 3 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I stared at my phone screen in disbelief, reading the message over and over again. After weeks of planning, after I'd already prepared my famous cranberry sauce and wrapped all the gifts, they were calling it off because of some snow? My name is Claire Thompson. I'm 29 years old, and I work as a marketing director for Braventine Logistics here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've always been the responsible one in my family, the one who shows up early, brings extra food, and makes sure everyone feels included. But apparently, that reliability meant nothing when a little winter weather rolled in. I walked to my apartment window and looked outside. Yes, there was snow falling, but it wasn't the apocalyptic blizzard my mother was making it out to be. The roads were clear enough, and I'd driven in much worse conditions during my college years in northern Minnesota. Something felt off about this sudden cancellation, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my brother Tyler. "Sorry, sis. Mom's right. Too risky to drive. Maybe we can do something next week?" His message felt rushed, almost dismissive. Tyler, who once drove through an actual blizzard just to make it to our cousin's wedding, was suddenly afraid of a few snowflakes. I spent Christmas Eve alone in my apartment, eating leftover Chinese takeout and watching old holiday movies. The cranberry sauce I'd spent hours perfecting sat untouched in my refrigerator, mocking me. I kept telling myself that family safety was more important than tradition, but the disappointment gnawed at me like a persistent ache. My sister Vanessa didn't even bother texting me directly. She just liked Tyler's message in our family group chat, which somehow felt even worse than being ignored completely. For someone who usually sent paragraph-long messages about every detail of her life, her silence was deafening. I tried to shake off the growing sense that something wasn't right. After all, what reason would they have to lie to me? We were family, and despite our occasional disagreements, we'd always spent holidays together. This was just an unfortunate coincidence, nothing more. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I couldn't escape the nagging feeling that Christmas morning would bring more than just disappointment. The snow continued falling outside my window, but inside my apartment, a different kind of storm was brewing. One that would change everything I thought I knew about my family. Christmas morning arrived gray and quiet. I woke up around 8 a.m. to find that the snow had stopped completely overnight, leaving behind a world that looked more like a winter wonderland than a dangerous driving hazard. The streets below my apartment were already plowed, and I could see cars moving normally through the intersection. I made myself coffee and opened the few gifts I'd bought for myself, trying to salvage some holiday spirit. My parents had raised me to believe that Christmas was about family togetherness, about setting aside differences and celebrating our bond. Growing up, we never missed a family gathering, not even when my dad broke his leg the year I turned 16. My relationship with my family had always been complicated, though I'd spent years convincing myself it was normal sibling rivalry. Tyler, 2 years younger than me, had always been the golden child, the star athlete who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Even now, at 27, he was working as a personal trainer while living in my parents' basement, yet somehow he was still treated like the success story of the family. Vanessa, my 25-year-old sister, worked part-time at a local boutique and spent most of her energy on social media and dating. She had this way of making everything about herself, turning every family conversation into a platform for her latest drama. But my parents ate it up, always eager to hear about her adventures and romantic escapades. Meanwhile, I'd worked my way up to a director position at one of Minneapolis's most successful logistics companies, bought my own apartment, and maintained financial independence since college graduation. Yet somehow, my achievements always seemed to fade into the background during family gatherings. When I'd gotten my promotion 6 months ago, my mom's response was, "That's nice, dear. Did you hear about Tyler's new client who used to play professional football?" I'd learned to accept my role as the reliable but unremarkable daughter. I was the one they called when they needed help moving furniture or advice about their problems, but I was rarely the center of attention or praise. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was above needing their validation. But sitting alone on Christmas morning, I realized how much I'd been craving their approval and inclusion. I'd spent weeks planning what to bring to dinner, thinking about conversation topics that might engage them, hoping this year might be different. The cancellation felt like more than just bad weather. It felt like another reminder of my place in the family hierarchy. I decided to make the best of the day by taking a long walk through my neighborhood. The fresh snow crunched beneath my boots, and the Christmas decorations in every yard reminded me that most families were probably gathered together, sharing breakfast and opening presents. I wondered if other people felt as alone as I did, or if that was just my particular burden to bear. By noon, I was feeling restless and decided to drive to the mall to see if any stores were open. Maybe I could find some post-Christmas sales to cheer myself up, or at least be around other people for a while. The roads were completely clear, confirming my suspicion that the dangerous storm had been greatly exaggerated. As I drove through my old neighborhood, the one where Tyler still lived with my parents, I found myself taking a detour past familiar streets. I told myself I was just being nostalgic, remembering Christmases from my childhood when we'd all pile into the living room and unwrap presents while Christmas music played in the background. That's when I saw them. Tyler's red pickup truck was parked in the driveway of 847 Oakwood Street, Vanessa's boyfriend Derek's house. But it wasn't just Tyler's truck. My parents' silver sedan was there too, along with Vanessa's blue Honda and 2 other cars I didn't recognize. They were all there, gathered at Derek's place, having what appeared to be a full family celebration. My heart stopped. I pulled over across the street, my hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. Through the large front window, I could see them moving around inside, holding drinks and laughing. My dad was wearing the ugly Christmas sweater I'd bought him last year, the one he claimed to hate but apparently wore to family gatherings I wasn't invited to. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, watching my family celebrate Christmas without me. Vanessa appeared in the window wearing a Santa hat, gesturing animatedly as she told some story that had everyone laughing. Tyler was holding what looked like a beer, his arm around some girl I'd never seen before. My mom was in the kitchen, probably preparing the traditional Christmas dinner she'd told me was too dangerous to attend. The realization hit me like a physical blow. They had deliberately excluded me. This wasn't about snow or safety. This was planned. They had decided to have Christmas without me, and they'd lied to cover it up. But why? What had I done to deserve this level of deception and cruelty? I drove home in a daze, my mind racing with questions and hurt. Had they discussed excluding me in advance? Had they all agreed that Christmas would be better without Claire there? How long had they been planning this? And how long had they been lying to me about other things? Back in my apartment, I paced around my living room, alternating between rage and heartbreak. The cranberry sauce was still in my refrigerator. The gifts for my family were still wrapped under my small Christmas tree, and my carefully planned outfit for dinner was hanging in my closet like evidence of my own naivety. I knew I couldn't let this go. They had crossed a line, and there would be consequences. As I sat in my quiet apartment, surrounded by the remnants of my solitary Christmas, I began to formulate a plan that would ensure they never treated me like this again. The call came at 9 a.m. on December 26th, just as I was drinking my 3rd cup of coffee and scrolling through social media, trying to distract myself from the previous day's betrayal. It was my mom, her voice artificially cheerful in that way she used when she was trying to cover up something. "Claire, honey, how was your Christmas? I hope you found something nice to do since we couldn't get together," she said, as if she genuinely cared about my well-being. I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to immediately confront her. "It was quiet, Mom. Very quiet. How was yours? Did you all just stay home because of the terrible snow?" "Oh yes, we just hunkered down and watched movies all day. Very low-key. Dad barely wanted to get out of his pajamas." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Anyway, I was calling because Tyler left some presents for you here, and Vanessa has something she wanted to give you too. Maybe we could all get together this weekend for a late Christmas celebration?" The audacity was breathtaking. They wanted to have a second Christmas with me, probably to assuage their guilt about excluding me from the real one. I could hear Tyler's voice in the background saying something about making it up to her, which confirmed my suspicion that they all knew exactly what they'd done. "That sounds lovely, Mom. I'm sure Tyler and Vanessa are eager to see me after missing Christmas together." I kept my voice neutral, but inside I was seething. "Actually, I drove around yesterday afternoon, just to see how bad the roads really were. You know, being stuck inside all day made me curious about the conditions." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Oh? And how were they?" "Completely fine. In fact, I drove all the way through the neighborhoods near Derek's house. Beautiful area, really. Lots of nice family gatherings happening." I let that sink in for a moment. "Anyway, I should let you go. I'm sure you have a busy day ahead." "Claire, wait," she started, but I'd already hung up. Within 10 minutes, my phone was buzzing with messages. First Tyler. "Hey, can we talk?" Then Vanessa. "Mom said you drove around yesterday? We really need to chat." Finally, my dad. "Claire, please call me back. We need to clear something up." But I ignored them all. I had work to do. I spent the morning researching private investigators in Minneapolis. If my family could deceive me so easily about Christmas, what else had they been lying about? I wanted to know everything. Every family gathering I'd been excluded from. Every conversation they'd had about me behind my back. Every decision they'd made to cut me out of their lives while maintaining the pretense of caring. By afternoon, I'd hired Jennifer Walsh, a former police detective who specialized in family investigations. Her office was downtown, in a sleek building that made me feel more professional and less like a hurt daughter seeking revenge. "Family exclusion cases are more common than you'd think," Jennifer told me as I explained the situation. "But what makes this particularly cruel is the elaborate deception. They didn't just not invite you, they actively lied to cover it up. That suggests planning and coordination." She was right. This wasn't a spontaneous decision or an oversight. This was calculated cruelty disguised as concern for my safety. Jennifer agreed to investigate my family's activities over the past 6 months, looking for patterns of exclusion and documentation of other gatherings I might have been lied to about. "I'll need access to their social media accounts, phone records if possible, and any mutual friends who might have witnessed these exclusions," she explained. "We'll build a comprehensive picture of their deception." As I walked out of Jennifer's office, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, a sense of control. For too long, I'd accepted my family's treatment as normal, telling myself that every family had its dynamics. But this Christmas had opened my eyes to the reality that they didn't just undervalue me. They actively worked to exclude me while maintaining plausible deniability. 3 days later, Jennifer called with her first findings, and they were worse than I'd imagined. She'd discovered evidence of at least 6 family gatherings over the past year that I'd been deliberately excluded from, each one involving the same pattern of lies and misdirection. "Your family has been quite busy," Jennifer said during our meeting at a coffee shop near my office. "Tyler's birthday dinner in March. They told you it was canceled due to food poisoning, but there are social media posts showing the entire family at Romano's restaurant. Your parents' anniversary celebration in July. They said they wanted to keep it small and intimate, just the 2 of them, but your cousin posted photos of a backyard party with 20 people." She slid a folder across the table, containing printed screenshots and timeline documentation. Each page was another knife in my back, another confirmation that my family had been systematically lying to me for months. The most revealing discovery was Vanessa's Instagram story from last Thanksgiving. She posted a video of Tyler carving the turkey and captioned it, "Family dinner complete. So grateful for everyone who could make it." The timestamp shows this was posted while you were at home, believing dinner had been moved to Friday because your mom was sick. I remembered that Thanksgiving distinctly. I'd spent the day feeling guilty for not being able to help my supposedly ill mother while they were all gathered together celebrating without me. The betrayal ran deeper than I'd thought possible. "There's more," Jennifer continued. I spoke with your neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who lives across from your parents' house. She confirmed seeing multiple cars there during several occasions when you were told gatherings were canceled. She also mentioned that Tyler made a comment to her in October about how some family members just make everything more complicated. The evidence was overwhelming, but Jennifer saved the worst revelation for last. She'd managed to access some deleted text messages between Tyler and Vanessa through a mutual friend's phone, where they discussed their strategy for excluding me. Tyler wrote, "Claire always makes everything about her career and accomplishments. It's exhausting." Vanessa responded, "Plus she judges everything we do. Derek feels uncomfortable around her." Then Tyler suggested, "What if we just started doing smaller gatherings without her? Mom and Dad seem open to it." My hands trembled as I read their casual discussion of cutting me out of the family. They spoke about me like I was a burden, a problem to be solved rather than a sister to be loved. The smaller gatherings had apparently been code for everyone except Claire. I also found evidence that your parents have been discussing your career with other family members in a way that suggests jealousy, Jennifer added. Your Aunt Catherine told me that your mom frequently complains about how you think you're better than everyone because of your job success. There seems to be resentment about your independence and financial stability. This was the piece that finally made everything click into place. They didn't exclude me because I was difficult or judgmental. They excluded me because my success made them uncomfortable. My achievements highlighted their own shortcomings, particularly Tyler's continued dependence on our parents and Vanessa's lack of direction. "What's your next move?" Jennifer asked. I looked at the folder of evidence, feeling a mixture of vindication and heartbreak. I now had proof of their systematic deception, but I also had the power to use that evidence strategically. They'd spent months planning ways to hurt me while maintaining their facade of being a loving family. Now it was my turn to plan. "I want to document everything and then confront them all at once," I said. "But not just a conversation. Something public. Something that exposes their behavior to the extended family and friends who have been witnessing their lies." Jennifer smiled. "I have some ideas about that." Jennifer's plan was brilliant in its simplicity. New Year's Eve was approaching, and through careful social media monitoring, we discovered that my family was planning another gathering, this time at my parents' house. They'd already started the familiar pattern of misdirection, with my mom texting me about how they were just staying in this year and keeping things quiet. But Jennifer had confirmed through her sources that they were actually planning a party for about 15 people, including extended family members and family friends. The guest list included people who thought I was simply too busy with work to attend family events, not knowing that I was being deliberately excluded. "We'll create a comprehensive presentation," Jennifer explained. "Think of it as a business case, but instead of presenting quarterly results, you'll be presenting evidence of systematic family deception. We'll document everything with timestamps, screenshots, and witness statements." She'd even arranged for a friend of hers, a professional videographer, to help create a polished digital presentation that could be easily shared via email and social media. The presentation would be titled, "A Year of Family Lies, The Claire Thompson Story," and would methodically expose each instance of deception with supporting evidence. But the masterstroke was the delivery method. Instead of confronting them in person, which would allow them to interrupt, deny, or control the narrative, I would send the presentation to everyone who'd been attending these secret gatherings. Extended family, family friends, neighbors who'd witnessed the lies. Everyone would receive the same evidence simultaneously. "The beauty of this approach," Jennifer explained, "is that they can't claim you're being dramatic or oversensitive when faced with documented proof. They also can't craft individual explanations for different people because everyone will have the same information." I spent the week between Christmas and New Year's Eve crafting the presentation with Jennifer's help. We organized the evidence chronologically, starting with the earliest documented exclusion and building up to Christmas Day. Each section included a brief explanation of what I'd been told versus what actually happened, supported by photographic evidence, social media screenshots, and witness statements. The most powerful section was titled, "The Christmas Deception," which included photos I'd taken of all their cars at Derek's house, alongside screenshots of my mom's text claiming the dinner was canceled due to snow, followed by weather reports proving the roads were clear. "This isn't about revenge," I told Jennifer as we finalized the presentation. "This is about truth and accountability. They've spent a year gaslighting me, making me feel like I was imagining their coldness or being too sensitive about their behavior. But the evidence shows a pattern of calculated cruelty." Jennifer nodded. "You're also protecting yourself from future deception. Once this is public, they can't continue these tactics because everyone will be watching for patterns." On December 30th, the day before their New Year's Eve gathering, I scheduled the email to send at 6 p.m., right when people would be checking their phones before dinner, but with enough time for the information to spread before the party. The recipient list included my parents, Tyler, Vanessa, all 4 of my grandparents, 6 aunts and uncles, 12 cousins, my parents' neighbors, several family friends, and Tyler and Vanessa's significant others. The subject line read, "Important family information. Please read before tonight's gathering." As I clicked the schedule button, I felt a strange sense of peace. For the first time in years, I was taking control of my relationship with my family instead of passively accepting their treatment. They'd taught me that family loyalty was important, but they'd failed to extend that same loyalty to me. Now they would face the consequences of their choices, and I would finally be free from their manipulation. At exactly 6 p.m. on December 30th, my carefully crafted presentation reached 43 people simultaneously. Within minutes, my phone started buzzing with responses, but I'd turned off notifications and settled in to watch the chaos unfold from the safety of my apartment. Jennifer had taught me to monitor the situation through social media and mutual contacts, rather than engaging directly with my family's inevitable damage control attempts. The first responses came from my cousins, who began texting each other in group chats that Jennifer's contacts could access. "Did you guys know about this?" my cousin Beth wrote. "I can't believe Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia have been lying to Claire like this." My Uncle Michael called my dad within 20 minutes, demanding an explanation. According to Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor contact, my dad's voice could be heard through the walls, alternating between defensive shouting and pleading phone calls to family members. Tyler attempted to call me 17 times in the first hour, followed by Vanessa with 14 calls. When I didn't answer, they started showing up at my apartment building, but I'd anticipated this and was staying at Jennifer's office, watching the fallout through carefully placed sources. The social media response was swift and decisive. My Aunt Catherine posted on Facebook, "After reading some disturbing information about family treatment, I'm reconsidering attendance at tonight's gathering. Family should mean honesty and inclusion, not calculated exclusion." 3 cousins and 2 family friends canceled their plans to attend the New Year's Eve party. The guest list that was supposed to be 15 people was now down to 8, and those 8 included my immediate family members who couldn't exactly cancel on themselves. The presentation had included a final section titled "Moving Forward," where I'd explained that I would be taking a break from family interactions until they could demonstrate genuine accountability and changed behavior. I wasn't cutting them off permanently, but I was setting boundaries that prioritized my emotional well-being over their comfort. By 9 p.m., the party that was supposed to be a celebration had apparently turned into an emergency family meeting about damage control, according to Derek's social media posts, showing him leaving early with Vanessa. The next morning brought a flood of apology attempts that revealed just how little my family understood about the damage they'd caused. My mom's first text read, "Claire, we can explain everything. You're taking this out of proportion. Let's talk like adults." Tyler's message was even worse. "I know you're upset, but airing family business publicly is really immature. We made some mistakes, but this response is way over the line." But the message that truly showed their lack of understanding came from Vanessa. "I can't believe you hired a private investigator to spy on your own family. That's actually psychotic behavior, Claire. Maybe we excluded you because you're genuinely difficult to be around. Jennifer had warned me that they would try to flip the narrative, making me the villain for exposing their behavior, rather than taking responsibility for the behavior itself. The fact that they were more upset about being caught than about what they'd done confirmed that my decision to go public had been correct. However, the extended family's response was overwhelmingly supportive. My grandmother, Helen, called me directly to apologize for not noticing the pattern and to invite me to a New Year's Day brunch with just the grandparents and a few cousins, people who wanted to rebuild trust rather than defend lies. "I raised your father better than this," she said during our conversation. Excluding family members while lying about it is not how the Thompsons behave. You did the right thing by standing up for yourself. The most satisfying response came from Derek's family, who had witnessed some of the discussions about excluding me. Derek's mother reached out to express her disgust with my family's behavior, and to assure me that Derek's comments about being uncomfortable around me had been fabricated by Vanessa to justify the exclusions. By New Year's Day, the truth was fully exposed, and my family faced a choice: genuine accountability or continued isolation from the extended family who now knew their true character. The aftermath of my revelation was swift and devastating for my family's social standing. My parents found themselves increasingly isolated from extended family gatherings, as relatives began questioning what other deceptions they might have orchestrated over the years. Tyler's relationship with his new girlfriend ended when she learned about his role in systematically excluding his own sister, and he was forced to move back into my parents' basement after losing his apartment due to the social fallout affecting his personal training business. Vanessa's relationship with Derek crumbled when his family made it clear they wanted nothing to do with someone who could orchestrate such cruel family manipulation, and she found herself blocked from several social circles who had witnessed her lies. My parents' reputation in their neighborhood suffered as Mrs. Patterson and other neighbors began sharing stories about the deceptive patterns they'd observed, turning my parents into social pariahs in their own community. As I settled into my new life with clear boundaries and honest relationships, I realized that exposing my family's deception had freed me from years of self-doubt and emotional manipulation. The investigation had cost me $3,000 and several sleepless nights. But it had given me something invaluable: the truth about who my family really was, and the confidence to demand the respect I deserved. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the courage to walk away from people who don't value your presence, even when those people share your DNA.